Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. With fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle. As always with me, Blackburn.
What up?
And Trimboli.
What it do?
All right, today's a good day. It's the wide receivers, or as we call them, the NFL's prima donnas, as they've been referred to. So
The divas.
the divas, indeed. So we'll kind of go over like we have been with the quarterbacks, running backs previously on the different shows, and talk about the top 13 wide receivers. Also talking about the top where we had them ranked and who actually finishes the top 13 and so forth. So, but the news of the day, went ahead and got some major news for the coaching changes. First one is the Ravens ended up promoting Greg Roman to the offensive coordinator position. Previously was held by, I think, Marty Morningham or something like that.
Wig.
Yeah, that guy. See, look at that.
That guy.
He knew him. It doesn't matter. Anyways, ultimately, I think it's a good thing for Lamar Jackson because he had stints in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick, as well as in Buffalo with Tyrod Taylor that time frame. So he understands the mobility quarterbacks and not be a heavy throwing offense. So I think it's a good setup for the Ravens, and going forward, offensively, that's who they're putting all their chips in the basket for is Lamar. So
Yep.
Cardinals hire new defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, previously the head coach of the Broncos, so that shores up their defense side of things, at least defensive coordinator-wise, for a defense that is aging and underperformed for the past, 2 years now?
Yeah, but that's the position I like him in. I'd rather him be the defensive coordinator than any time be a head coach.
Well, you've seen a lot of head coaches, especially this year, going back to being coordinators.
Oh, yeah. I agree with in that context. I think this is where he's better suited anyways, but so that's a good situation for the Cardinals. The Jets hire Adam Gase as their new head coach, so he gets to work with Sam Darnold and ruin his career even more.
Man, Gase was a hot commodity.
He was, surprisingly enough.
I didn't think he'd generate this much buzz, but I mean, he was supposed to, number one on most people's list.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, Jay Cutler will not be coming to New York to resurrect that team if Sam Darnold were to get injured.
But look at the talent the Bears had, though, back when Gase was. They had Forte, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, Bennett. I mean, they were loaded.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Dolphins, they had a hurt Ryan Tannehill, and that's about it.
Yeah. They didn't. They really didn't have a whole lot of offensive firepower outside of Drake, and he was kind of hit and miss. Gore kind of came in at different times to kind of help the offensive run game, and their wide receivers, Parker does what Parker does best, which is disappear, has a great training camp, and then disappears, and then Kenny Stills was hit and miss.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Parker go to this year, and he's a free agent. He's going to go to a team, and I think he'll pull the Amari Cooper.
Maybe get a fresh start, show his talents
that's what
finally.
He needs. He needs to go to a team with a good quarterback, and he'll be fine.
Right.
He needs to go to a team that's already got an established one. Let him be that too. He's got still a ton of talent. I just don't. When he's the guy.
If Pittsburgh trades Antonio Brown, should they go after Parker and be Parker and Juju?
Maybe they give him something better than nothing. I mean, James Washington is a different animal in himself. He's a specific type of route runner. He's not a great route runner. He's got a few routes that he's going to run. He's kind of like Dez was, where he's got the over the top. He's a little bit more physical guy. He's not going to be the one that's going to play those like in and out routes that Antonio Brown or Juju can do. So if you can get a physical wide receiver like Devontae Parker, who's got a little bit more athletic ability overall, to put him in there, so he's not having to be the guy.
He's still young, and you could probably get him for cheap.
At this point, yes.
Real cheap.
So make it very heavy incentive.
Incentive-based contracts. Sure. So he's also going to want to go to a pass-friendly offense, but most of them are now. So
right.
Let's see. Bucks end up hiring Bruce Arians as their new head coach and making Todd Bowles the defensive coordinator. So the rich get richer.
Yeah.
Wasn't Bowles there to begin with?
No, he was the head coach there in the Jets.
I know, but before that, wasn't he defensive coordinator with the Cardinals?
Might have been. I think he was. He was under Arians there in Arizona before he took the job at the Jets. So
they reunite.
Yeah, that's a good thing for. I mean, I think this is very helpful for
Jameis
Winston. I drew a blank on who it was, the quarterback. I was going to say Fitzpatrick, but he's not the starter.
I draw a blank when I think of him too.
Ultimately, I think it helps him because he was even on the show on I forget, it was either Dan Patrick or Rich Eisen's show today, talking about when they asked him point blank, so Jameis is your guy, you're all in on Jameis. He said, yep. I mean, he didn't say yeah for now or well, we'll think about it come draft. I mean, it was no question. Yep, he's our guy. And I mean, to me, if anybody is going to motivate and get the most out of Jameis Winston, it's got to be Bruce Arians. He's the only one that I could think of. He resurrected Carson Palmer's career, who was kind of slouching and headed out the back door after being in Oakland. I just think that he is somebody who could potentially get this guy motivated and get him going. Plus, it helps the offense overall if you can get Jameis going, because then that opens up not just the passing game, but if he was the one that went out and made sure they used David Johnson in the years that they were blowing it up offensively, run game wise. So he's got a specific method to his madness of what he's wanting. And whoever it is, I know I looked. Jacquizz Rodgers is an unrestricted free agent, so they're probably not going to bring him back. And Peyton Barber is a restricted free agent, so he has the opportunity to potentially go sign with somebody else. But obviously, the Bucs would have a sign.
Ronald Jones.
I was going to say Ronald Jones II is the guy to look forward to potentially. Whoever wins the Bucs running back spot will be a highly coveted running back in fantasy football next year, because Arians is going to use him a ton, whoever it may be.
And there might be potential movement at the running back spot, because who knows where Le'Veon Bell signs, and that could be a domino effect, especially if he signs in Indianapolis. Yeah. What's Mac gonna do?
I don't know. That's a $1 million question.
He's still on a rookie deal. You got him for cheap.
Right. So do they try to leverage that by trading him because he's cheap right now?
Could.
You know what I mean? Because once he's got the money on the table, that's a little harder to deal a guy like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
all hypothetical if Indianapolis is where Bell ends up, but still.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Vikings end up retaining the guy that was initially just promoted because of Delafilippo being kicked out. Kevin Stefanski is now officially the full-time OC there in the Vikings offense, which, if you're a Vikings fan or if you're a fantasy football fan of Dalvin Cook,
or Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle Rudolph. I was going to say, this is your guy that you want.
They need keep the familiarity going there.
Most definitely. So you got him coming in, staying with the Vikings, I should say. Then the Broncos hire Vic Fangio. Previously was the DC at the Bears, so that's a good promotion. That guy's been in the NFL for a long, long time.
Yes.
So he's finally getting his shot, which is a cool thing to see. Browns promote Freddie Kitchens to the head coach position after long thought and process of different guys coming in and interviewing. They ended up promoting within, which is fine. I mean, if him and Baker get along and he's going to be your franchise quarterback, you want somebody who's going to be able to pair well with your quarterback.
Right. I don't like it.
I think they could have done better. I think they could have went bigger.
I think they could have just left it how it was. Let Greg Williams be your head coach. He's got experience being a head coach, and he can also double as your defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And leave Freddie Kitchens just to work with Baker in the offense.
Well, I think Freddie Kitchens was a hot commodity that all of a sudden.
I was going to say, I think that's exactly what ended up being for him.
Because you think about most of these hires are OCs, that are younger guys.
I get it.
So they might have forced your hands. I actually agree with you. I wish that's what would have happened. Is Greg Williams stays, Kitchens stays as offensive coordinator. I think that's a really nasty team now.
Yeah, I we'll see how it goes, but Greg Williams was not kept as the DC or retained.
Cleveland's an interesting job. The more you talk about it, Baltimore is transitioning with Lamar Jackson. They've got an older defense. We'll see how they fan out next year. Pittsburgh is right now, who knows what's going on.
They're tail spinning right now.
And they could have been a rebuild. And then Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I mean, Cleveland that job could be great.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Jets. If New England's not New England. So.
Right.
Greg Williams got signed somewhere, didn't he?
He went to
the Jets, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes, he's the Jets DC now. So there you go. So you got Adam Gase and Greg Williams, who is going to be.
That's pretty nasty.
That's a good combo if you can get both sides of the ball working the way that they should.
Right.
Falcons hire former offensive coordinator, previously who was their back, Dirk Cutter. They brought him back in. He apparently was the OC back in 2012, 2014, when they were actually scoring a ton of points and winning NFC championships. So
Well, good, because Sarkisian was
horrible.
hot garbage.
Dude was horrible, and he just
I
never
haven't
got
heard
it.
that in a minute
He
from
never
you.
got out of that USC offensive playbook that he brought.
No.
I mean, he actually did this year, and he got fired after.
I think it was forced this year.
So, anyway, so he's back, which is a good thing for the Falcons offensively. Dan Quinn is now going to take over the defensive side of things. So, does that mean they're not bringing in a DC, or are they just going to bring a DC to kind of manage it? But overall, he's got the final say, which, as the head coach, you technically still have the final say.
Right.
So, I didn't understand the whole Dan Quinn's going to run the defense. So, is now he the head coach and the defensive coordinator, or?
I've seen it before. They just put a guy in there to have the title, but it's
Right.
really
Right.
the head coach running stuff.
Right. All right. Maybe like Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's the offensive coordinator, but really it's Sean McVay calling all the
Right.
plays.
Exactly.
So, then the Cardinals signed Cliff Kingsbury to become the head coach there.
Cool.
Yeah. It's a hard one to wrap your brain around or
Yeah.
whatever, but I don't know. I tell you, I could argue both ways on this one.
I just think that you could have done better. I think it's the Browns situation. Now, the difference is the Browns, Freddie Kitchens was already in the system, so you kind of understand they don't want to break him away from a quarterback that has already gotten gelled with him, whatever. This is a guy from the outside coming in, and there's already rumors being thrown around about him potentially trading away Josh Rosen and drafting Kyler Murray. Even if he doesn't draft Kyler Murray, he's still talking about drafting a quarterback in the first round with their first overall pick and trading away Rosen for some other first-round pick.
Rosen doesn't fit his offensive scheme.
No.
Right.
No. You know who does if he doesn't take Kyler Murray? Dwayne Haskins, who's a thrower and can throw it all over the field.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if for whatever reason Kyler Murray decides to not play NFL, or if they want somebody who really can throw the ball, to me, I understand some people are going to say, oh, well, Kyler Murray is a better athlete. He is. But to me, in the NFL, you don't want it just an athlete. If you're wanting, it's a yes, it still has running backs, and it is still there are still dominant running backs. But if you look at the most successful teams, if they don't have a dominant running back, they have a dominant quarterback that could just go down the field any point. I mean, the Saints are a rarity that actually have a good run game and a good quarterback to throw the ball down the field. I mean, you look at the playoff teams specifically left. We'll just start with the Chiefs. Chiefs have a good quarterback. They had a good running back in Kareem Hunt. They don't. The offense is kind of taking a little bit of a sputter, but they're still moving the ball down the field enough that because of Mahomes. Then on the other side, you got the Chargers, a rarity. They got a good quarterback and a good running back, Melvin Gordon. But Melvin Gordon's banged up at times, and the offense kind of sputters when Melvin Gordon's not in there.
Right.
Who's the other ones? The
Colts.
Colts.
You say Mac Luck.
Yeah.
You got Goff Gurley. I mean,
To me, if you take Gurley out of the equation, I know that C.J. Anderson came in and balled out, but I'm just telling you, against a real good defense, I don't know if Jared Goff would be able to win you a game without a Todd Gurley in that offense. I'm not saying that he would not. I'm not saying that he couldn't win. I'm just saying it wouldn't be in such a style that they are currently winning, and when Gurley's in there, it would be a much closer game if you take Gurley out of the equation. Dak is the exact same thing. Dak, we have seen, cannot win a game successfully or even remotely close without Zeke in that offense. Now you got Amari
now you
Cooper.
got Cooper in there. I mean, that kind
It
of
helps, but I'm just saying, as a Dallas fan, I can tell you right now, Dak's not winning you a game. If Ezekiel Elliott was out of this game going into the Rams game, you might as well go ahead and say it's a 20 to 30 point loss, easy.
I'll tell you what, on the golf, I think it's Cooper Kupp has more to do
Yes.
with him.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Because we've seen Gurley on the field with him, and he still sputters.
right.
I think it was Kupp.
Yeah.
I think he's a bigger play.
against the
Right.
Bears and the
Yeah.
Saints.
So-
I want to see Haskins go to the Giants.
I think
I just want to see Haskins and Barkley together.
that would be
Haskins,
nice.
Barkley, OBJ, Ingram,
Shepard,
yeah,
all
that's-
those guys.
that's nasty.
And listen, I might be a homer here, being an Ohio State fan. Haskins got the quarterback body you want for the NFL. I mean, and he's got a
He's
cannon
accurate.
of an arm.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's like 6'3", 6'4", 225, 230
Yeah.
or something like that.
yeah. Now listen, I thought Lamar Jackson was too small and he couldn't make it. Listen, he's had a great start to his career.
He's Deshaun.
So,
He's
yeah.
the same mold as Deshaun
so
Watson.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong on Kyle Murray. I still think he's a small quarterback.
I do
that-
too. I think he's gonna get blasted.
He kind of reminds me of, I don't want to say as a slide to this guy that I'm getting ready to say because it's not, but he's kind of like a Drew Brees type, smaller, a real strong arm, athletic guy, but he's not a big frame. He's not a big guy, and he's not a guy who can take a bunch of hits. He's not a guy that's going to be able to really see. I mean, he's like and I think that they say being gracious, he's 5'11".
Yeah.
So if Brees at 6 foot has to, I mean, and we all seen it over the years where Brees I mean, every time he snaps the ball, that's how he sees. He's looking so he can look under his helmet because he can't look straight at these 6'6", 6'7" guys, and he'll just look right to the back of these offensive linemen.
It's like Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But see what Wilson is, he throws so well out on the run that's what makes him successful. He rolls. So
I think Murray will end up doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have to.
Especially if he goes to the Cardinals.
Right. So we'll see. But and then the Packers hire new head coach Matt LaFleur.
Rumpke.
Wow. You went from Mike McCartney, who was getting you to the playoffs every year, having a winning average overall, and to me at least had established himself, to a guy who took a team who was a certain, I would think they were like 19th or 20th offensively to 27th this year.
I think it had more to do with Rodgers and McCarthy beefing with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than
you're always going to pick your
organization.
Your Hall of Fame quarterback's going to go over a quarterback or coach anytime. Sorry, but
maybe he's hoping for the same success Peter LaFleur had with the average dodgeball team here.
That's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
Until you said the way you said his name, that's the first.
Matt LaFleur.
That's what came to my head.
So ultimately, I still think that Aaron Rodgers is running this offense day in and day out. So
you must be daddy.
Yes.
Oh man.
This is gonna be a good show.
Yeah. They haven't named any offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or anything like that.
They don't need an offensive coordinator. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Being Matt LaFleur, whose offense is totally different than what they've been traditionally running, which is a shotgun offense.
And by the way, his offense was terrible this year. So,
but he is a more under-centered, traditional pro-style offensive calling guy coming out of the McVay and Shanahan family coaching tree. Surprisingly enough, he is not a shotgun quarterback. He's more under-center and handed off type thing, which bodes well for guys like Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. However, it doesn't really bode well for how the Packers have wanted to go 3-4 wide on pretty much every down.
Well, I think that if he's smart, he'll incorporate the shotgun into this offense too, because that's the Packers' bread and butter is their timing on the shotgun.
Right. So, but I mean, I think for
Aaron Jones will get probably an uptick.
I think offensively though, I think that while you've got a low draft pick right now with the Packers, I think this might be the time that you go take a quarterback. I'm just saying, this is about the time frame that they went and got Aaron Rodgers, and had Brett Favre, who was still towards the end of it. He was in his prime, but he was on the tail end of his career, and they had Aaron Rodgers, and when they had him sit for however many 2-3 years or whatever it was, and he was ready to go as soon as he came in, and I think that's helpful. Not many coaches do that with their top quarterbacks that they drafted. To me,
well, Rodgers fell also to like 25.
Well,
true.
That's going to be my point.
He was projected number 2, and I guarantee you if somebody would have picked him at number 2, he would have started right away.
Well, let me ask you this. If you're the Packers, and let's just say we'll just say if you're the Giants, how about that? And Eli's coming back. You've made it very clear that if Eli is coming back, we're keeping Eli. He's the quarterback, which they've already said. If Eli's coming back, he's our guy. They're not going to dump him to the side. They've made that very clear. So if you're the Giants, you're keeping Eli. Do you go somewhere else? And if you're the Packers and you're sitting there, I think they're in the top 10 pick easily. If you're in the top, we'll say 12 pick, do you move up to try to get a guy like Haskins this year, or do you let it go and you try to get more, maybe a Herbert or something next year's class?
I think Rodgers has still got 3 to 4 good years left.
Well, I agree. I'm just saying he's got at least, if he stays healthy, he's got at least 3 to 4 years. I'm just saying we've seen the last 2 years him get beaten down, body is falling apart.
Well, that's because their offensive line is trash.
Right.
Well, now and
they need an identity on defense.
True. That's the other thing. To me, if you have the opportunity to take Haskins in your Green Bay, do you pass him up?
Yes. You got other issues to worry about right now. Your quarterback situation is good for another 3 to 4 years.
Okay. So you wait till you pass it off till maybe next year to take one of these top quarterbacks coming out.
Next year or the year after. I wouldn't even stress it.
I don't know. If Haskins falls that far, I'd at least entertain the thought.
Okay. But you're saying don't move up if you're Green Bay to try to take Haskins.
No, I would not move up.
Okay. Just curious.
Because I think they're going to leverage too much to get up there. And I'll tell you right now, the Giants aren't going to let him fall back. I think not that they're regretting Barkley by any means, but I think they now see they should have taken a quarterback.
I'm just saying
they need it now.
But if you take Haskins, are you really going to sit him if Eli's doing Eli things and sputtering?
Eli Manning's not a bad quarterback.
No.
Their offensive line is one of the worst in football.
But if they don't improve that offensive line, you're going to probably see the same exact thing.
But if you go if they get a Haskins in the first round, you could spend free agency and the rest of your draft building that O-line.
Yeah. True.
Their defense is decent.
Haskins can sit.
Right.
He doesn't have to come in and play right away. He can come in and learn the playbook, and he can be slowly transitioned in.
Sit 1 year under Eli. Eli's still a good quarterback.
Yeah.
All right.
Or
Just curious.
Even do what Cleveland did with Baker.
Yeah.
Let him come in. Don't announce
let him
that
earn
he's a
it.
starter. Yeah, and let him earn it. If he earns it, then he's playing.
Okay. Well, now, so it's last talk for coaching changes. The Cincinnati Bengals have been pretty much said that they are hiring the quarterback coach for the current LA Rams quarterback coach and bringing him in. They just can't officially do any type of negotiating dollars and years and stuff like that because he's still in the playoffs. However, so once that happens, he's going to be named the new head coach, which I think, from my understanding, from what you had said off air, is that it's a good thing to kind of reach outside the box of what they've been accustomed to coaching wise last couple times.
Yeah, because if they would have stayed in house, it's just another guy that can be controlled, and I didn't want that. I wanted something totally new. Listen, this might totally blow up and not work. I don't care. It's new.
It's something different.
It's something different. I feel like we're going in a direction now. We're not staying in the neutral.
Well, they ousted Hugh Jackson today.
I was going to say, speaking of in-house, he no longer is in-house, but
like I also said off air, I hope they come in and clean house.
Yeah.
I mean, start over.
They've started.
Yeah.
Marvin Lewis is gone. Hugh Jackson's gone.
Bill Lazor's supposedly still on currently.
If we could retain him as the OC, I'd be in favor of that, but I don't know if you will.
Yeah. We'll see. All right, so the 2-player issues that we've got, the big names that are going through right now, is Antonio Brown is the first one. Apparently, the Pittsburgh Gazette reported that Antonio Brown has not spoken with the Steelers since the team's deactivating him on week 17. So it's been a couple weeks. He's not been heard from. Apparently, he's ignored phone calls from Art Rooney, as well as Mike Tomlin. And then apparently on Thursday, Rooney had said it was hard to envision Brown being back with the team in 2019. That's a pretty big.
Well, they said they were open to trading him yesterday.
Yes.
You know what makes that comment makes me think that they have someone out there who's willing to take money and everything.
Yeah. Well, but did you see?
There's plenty of teams with cap space that could use an Antonio Brown.
But I would say, speaking of Antonio Brown, did you see he took a picture of him and Art Rooney when they signed that contract, and then he quote tweeted it and said "good business is good" or something like that. I don't think he gets it.
No.
I don't think he gets the big picture of what's going on. I know he thinks that he's doing what's best for him, and I'm sure
he don't care. He's getting paid. He's going to go to a team that.
I'm just saying. I think he thinks he's in control of this whole situation with Pittsburgh. Sadly enough, I think that he truly believes that he's still in control.
Yeah. And if he gets out, then he's in control.
Right. So
especially if he goes to a good team with a quarterback, i.e., the Colts.
True. There's the potential. They got a lot of free agency money that they're
going to have $100 million when the season new league.
The problem is I see a team that's desperate for an identity, a player, to sell tickets and everything to reach out to get an Antonio Brown.
True.
And offer more than the Colts.
Yeah, but you got to
maybe the Jets.
I think about that. The Jets have no one. They need it.
There's only a handful
Buffalo
of teams.
needs it.
Yeah, but Buffalo don't have the cap space.
Oh, they could shuffle some things around and potentially get
the
there.
Jets have the cap space. So there'd be one.
Jets do. Colts do. And I want to say Houston Texans do.
Yeah, I think I heard Houston does too.
But ultimately, I put out a tweet
and
from
Cleveland, of course.
Yeah,
I put out a tweet from the podcast handle asking if at this current moment, if you're in a keeper league, who are you more likely to keep, Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell? Currently, Antonio Brown is winning.
Yeah,
I think last I looked, it was 56-45 or 44 or something like that.
Look, he's 30, right?
Yeah. He's 31. He'll be 31 here in February or March, I believe.
He's still playing at a extremely high level right now.
And he's got a 3-4 year deal still left on the table for $20+ million a year. So, and then you got Le'Veon Bell's probably going to be wanting about $20 million himself in this context. So,
what if the Jets decided to grab both of them?
Well, welcome Adam Gase to
the Colts
playoffs.
I mean, Colts could too. They both got upwards of $75 million in the cap space.
True. We'll see. It's a lot of what ifs, but I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that could potentially use either one of them and has the cap space to
Bell's
go out.
only going to be 27.
20, I think 20. He's 25 or 26 right now, but either way, he's still young.
If I was Indianapolis, I'd go after one maybe at max. I'd still make sure that offensive line paid because they kept Luck upright this year.
Yeah,
and he is your guy.
Yeah.
Well, you got Luck. I mean, think about that. You have Luck, Bell, Hilton, Brown, Ebron.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's scary.
But see, I don't mind. I don't mind if, let's say, you don't go get Bell, so you don't invest all that money. A Mac Hines split backfield.
Mac's proven he could do it.
Yeah.
True.
So, I mean, I get it.
All right, next one, Leonard Fournette. So that was a big one that he was dealing with. He was being basically fined for all this money that he was not going to get his guaranteed contract. Apparently, Ian Rappaport said that Leonard Fournette met with Tom Coughlin and the rest of the Jaguars front office to clear the air and move forward in 2019. So he also, Rappaport added that his actions down the stretch for imploding Jaguars team was not good, and that Jacksonville has bigger things to worry about this offseason, however, such as finding a quarterback to replace Blake Bortles.
Ouch.
That's a tall task.
Yeah,
They could probably get some good draft capital for Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
As from my understanding, basically they met to clear the air, and Fournette says, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And Coughlin's like, yeah, I understand you're all in now. But the way your actions throughout the year, your injuries, your on-the-field fight, we don't know. Now, granted, it makes sense with them saying that they have bigger things to go after, which is like a quarterback. However,
they're all in now, but when April comes, April 25th,
it'll be a true tale to see if Leonard Fournette don't get traded somewhere.
Somebody comes calling you and say, hey, we'll give you this and this for Fournette.
Maybe like the Raiders. John Gruden.
It's exactly the team I thought he fits in with.
Yeah. As soon as I saw this issue, I'm like, oh, man, he might end up in that black and silver. Seriously.
They have a ton of cap space, too.
Yeah.
And they need a running back, like a legit running back.
Especially if they get rid of Carr.
Well, that offense is not like a dink and dunk, so he'd fit in. It's that traditional smash mouth, old school.
Yeah, Lynch probably won't be around.
No, apparently he was. Last picture I saw of him, he was at the game. Who was it?
I knew you were gonna say that because I saw him too.
He was at the Raiders game, and I just drew a blank. Who was the longtime owner?
Who?
For the Raiders, longtime owner. I just drew a blank. Seriously,
just win, baby.
Yeah, I just drew a blank on what his name is. Nobody.
Hold on, Allen. No.
Oh my gosh, we gotta look. This is terrible.
Al Davis.
Al Davis. There it is. You said Allen. I knew what you were going with. All right, so Al Davis is Eternal Light Flame or whatever.
Yeah, he was lighting up.
He was lighting a blunt or
he
whatever.
Had a blunt up there like this.
You're just like, that is Marshawn.
In
like
true
that's
Marshawn fashion. That's what he was doing.
Like the last game in the Raiders stadium. That's what he's doing. True Marshawn.
He's never got it.
No, he doesn't care, dude. He's got tons of Skittles sponsored and everything else. He doesn't care.
He's beast mode.
Dude, he's got his own T-shirts, his own TV show. He doesn't care. He's an interesting guy, that's for sure. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into
Marshawn, he can always come on this show if you'd like.
Oh, yeah.
Right. All right, let's get into the main talking point of today, year in review, wide receivers. And I didn't change it. I kept the little change thing, and I did see what you're talking about with money and all that.
So there's no music?
No, there is. Watch.
Wide receivers.
Jackpot, baby. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a little flip game over.
Oh, see? That'll be maybe next time's Instagram post for the show. Because I put the money when you were talking about last time on
Pink
there.
Floyd.
There
This one sounds like a little flip game over at the beginning. Same thing.
I like it.
Because it's all the coins going in the arcade machine. Get it?
I like it.
I like it.
All right, wide receivers this week, talking about them. This segment is sponsored by Trophy Smack. They are a fully customizable fantasy championship trophy, rings, and soon-to-be belts company. And they've got over 100 different custom items that you can customize from the topper all the way to the different pillars, the base of it, different color. I mean, they've got the different color footballs from like black, silver, blue, red, everything. So we've got the championship ring out there. That's one of the 2 models they got, and they're going to expand it to a couple more models as well.
Nice.
If you go on our website and click the Vanna White, if you click on our website under the More tab, you'll see championship rings and trophies. You'll be able to go over straight to there. If you buy a championship trophy, use the promo code TH8FF ring, all caps, and that gets you a free championship ring alongside your fully customized championship trophy. Now, I know that they haven't officially released the belts yet, but they're going to be sometime here in, I think, right around fantasy baseball draft time frame.
Dude, I might wear one every show.
Just sit here. Do the Aaron Rodgers championship. Yeah. Rodgers, discount double check.
Double check.
Double check. So,
Rodgers.
Anyways, the links for you guys on the podcast and on YouTube will be down in the description. For you guys that are watching on DATV, you can go to the website, like I said, and click on the More tab, championship trophies and rings, and head over to Trophy Smack's website. So, all right, first one out the gate, the way that they finished, I should say.
Yes.
Number 1, Devontae Adams was averaging about 18 fantasy points a game and half point. Finished with 272 fantasy points. We had him as our consensus. Where do we have him at? I'm looking. Do we not have him in our top?
Yeah, we did. Number 8.
Oh, I drew a blank. Sorry.
Math.
There you go. Math. Anyway, so top, we had him at number 8 consensus. I had him at 8, and you guys both had him at 7. So we all thought he was going to be good. We just didn't know without Jordy Nelson what the offensive passing game really was going to look like.
Jimmy Graham, we thought he was going to swallow up some targets.
Right. True.
Negative. That didn't happen. Really.
No, he didn't do.
To the extent we thought.
No, he didn't.
Probably should have. Probably should have been ranked a little higher for us if you think about it. We all had Aaron Rodgers consensus number 1.
True.
I think we kind of overlooked
But
Devontae
look at who we had
Adams.
ranked ahead of him, though.
Oh, I know. It's a bunch of big names.
Well, the immediate guy right above him kind of missed some games and was injured. But
Right.
anyway, so, I mean, ultimately, and now you got Matt LaFleur coming in. You're not really sure what that offense is going to look like offensively. It's still going to be Aaron Rodgers' offense, and Devontae Adams is still going to be the guy, obviously. And they are going to figure in whoever number 2 is going to be going forward, whether it's Cobb or MVS or Equanimous St. Brown or whoever else they throw in there. So Geronimo Allison even. I mean, there's a ton of these guys that could be potentially thrown in to be the wide receiver too. So I think he's a top 3 wide receiver next year as well.
Yeah.
So
LaFleur.
number 2, Antonio Brown, literally a point or less from Adams. So, and he played 15 games as well. 271 fantasy points, also averaged about 18 fantasy points a game. So, and Antonio Brown was our consensus number 1 across the board. So we knew that.
A half a point.
Yeah. We knew he was going to be the guy. We knew he was going to be factored in a lot, and it made it even bigger once we heard that Bell may or may not be playing right away. So we knew that offense was going to be passing probably a lot more. So nothing major there. Now this is the big surprise. I shouldn't say big surprise, but surprise as to where we had him. It was not good, but he ended up finishing Tyreek Hill, number 3, 258 fantasy points, averaging 17 fantasy points a game. He was a fantasy stud this year.
Right, but our analysis on him was actually kind of accurate. We say he's a boom or bust.
Oh, he is.
His ceiling is 45-13, and his floor was 5.5. I mean, that's the difference, what you're going to get, and we knew that. He just happened to have more of the ceiling.
Well, we weren't sure of Mahomes.
True.
And I, for one, was very wrong about Mahomes. From what I've seen in preseason, all the picks and everything, I didn't think he would just come out and just dominate like he did. 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards.
Right.
So Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, all those guys, man.
They blew it up.
Big time.
Ultimately, though, for Tyreek Hill, like you said, I think our analysis was correct in the boom and bust.
Right.
However, he had more boom games than he had busts.
A lot more.
So for me, there's weeks that the majority of your season, he probably won your weeks because he was blowing up with Mahomes. However, there probably were a couple weeks that he did not do very well for you, and he may have cost you a game, and he may have cost you a playoff game potentially. So, like I said, towards the end of the year, he was kind of hot and cold. He was more cold than he was hot. And I hate to say it was once the injury happened where he kind of tweaked his his foot or his hamstring
Ankle.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then you had no Kareem Hunt, so it was a different offense, a little bit more adjusted. The run game wasn't. You didn't have the Kareem Hunt threat where he could break one off for 40, 50 yards. You got Damian Williams or Spencer Ware, who probably breaks you off like a 10 or a 20 as their longest of a run. So it's a little bit different offense, and Sammy Watkins in and out. I just think the offense.
The most consistent guy was Kelsey.
Yes. Him and Mahomes. Even Mahomes kind of had a struggling weeks. But to me, I just think ultimately Tyreek Hill probably won you a bunch of games. He may have even won you a fantasy playoff championship if you happen to make it out of the weeks that he was low scoring. But ultimately, you probably won a lot more games than you lost because of Tyreek Hill. So it was worth it in the long run.
Absolutely.
So, and he was outside. I think we had him at like 15, I think is what we had him at consensus-wise. Right. So we just thought you weren't sure how many boom or bust games you were going to see, and we were, like you said, unsure of what we were going to get with Mahomes. So number 4, DeAndre Hopkins coming in at 255. So only, about 3 points behind Hill, and 17 fantasy points average. So if you're noticing so far, from 1 and 2, they're pretty similar. Now, if you go, and now we'll talk about the next couple guys, they're all less than 10 points. And they were all drafted towards the end of or the beginning of the second, into the first, beginning of the second round, where you could have potentially taken a running back where we saw the points were a lot higher. So this is when we talk about top running backs versus top wide receivers in the long run. So, but DeAndre Hopkins, him and Watson, for most of the year, it was Hopkins. He didn't even drop a pass, I think, until like the actual NFL playoffs.
Yeah, he went all regular season without dropping a pass.
That's crazy.
He's unreal.
So, and I just think that you're going to get a lot more of that next year, and that offense is just going to get better. They're probably going to bring in a better run game, running back wise, whether that's Foreman or somebody from the outside. And defensively, the defense was all right. I think Demaryius Thomas wants to come back. If Will Fuller is healthy and comes back, I think that adds another dimension to the offense.
Yeah.
I think if you can get Kuti and Fuller back in there healthy, I think that adds a different dynamic into that offense. So
they just got off to a slow start.
They did, but he was still benefiting from it, though, with the slow start. I mean, to me, Hopkins, maybe outside of Brown, Hopkins is almost like a guaranteed 20 points almost. I mean, yeah, it says he averaged 17, but, I mean.
There was games he threw up 40s. There was games he had 25s, 30s.
I mean.
What was his ceiling?
Well, his ceiling is 34, but see, his floor is 10. It's still double digits.
Yeah,
it's
to me, that's something you can that you love out of a guy.
That's what you want at a top pick.
Your floor is 10.
Yeah. It's still a double-digit points.
I mean, it's an off game, but it's not like a 4.
Even if he gets you 10, and he was your wide receiver 1 on your roster, that scores more than 20 some other wide receivers that probably were under 10 points.
He's the only player in the top 13 that can say his floor was 10.
There you go.
With double digits.
And he really didn't have – once Fuller went down, he really was the only guy in that offense pass-wise again. So – I just think that he is set up for a top 3 performance again next year.
Yeah, him and Watson just have good chemistry.
True. So I think offensively they'll just get better. He was our consensus number 2, though, so pretty close to what we had him at. Number 5, Michael Thomas for the New Orleans Saints, coming in at 247. We got him at he's got 16 and a half fantasy points a game, so not far behind. I mean, if you look at 258, 255, 247. Not much point differential from guys who are being drafted in the first round of draft picks. Michael Thomas, we had him as our consensus number 4, and he finished as the number 5. So pretty close. We figured same thing with Breeze. We kind of figured where we were going to get. Right. Same thing with Kamara. We kind of figured what we were getting, and we were pretty spot on with the Saints offense so far. I think he's going to get better next year. I mean, he's going to continue to get better. It's just the question mark of who's going to be the guy throwing the ball. Is it Drew Brees next year, or is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater next year? Because I think if Teddy Bridgewater comes in, I just think that's a different offensive style that you're going to be running.
You're going to see a dip. I mean, I still have high hopes for Bridgewater to carry this offense, but I don't think you can expect the exact same numbers for what Thomas has had with Brees. So. No,
I think that's where you're going to be dealing with, and he might finish outside the top 5 next year if it's Bridgewater. If it's Brees, I think he still has a shot to be a top 5 guy. I think if it's Bridgewater or anybody else, I think he's probably in that 7 to 10 range. Not that I think he's gonna like suck or anything like that. I just think, like you said, I just think Bridgewater brings a different element, and I think the offense is gonna go more towards Kamara's way because Ingram will be gone. They're not bringing back Ingram, and it'll be a different offense altogether, and it'll be more spread offense, probably more shotgun stuff to kind of zone read and kind of offset with Kamara's pass catching and speed ability to the outside.
I'd like to see Mark Ingram go to the Texans.
There's been talks of him being potentially signing with the Buccaneers to go down to Tampa to run that offense with Bruce Arians, who loves force feeding the running back.
Okay.
And a play action style offense or shotgun offense, but either way, that running back's getting a heavy dose of volume.
Good fantasy pick.
Yeah. It'd be true. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but I think wherever Ingram goes, he's going to go where he's the lead back. He's not going into a joint system again.
I think that Tampa Bay actually.
That's where I've heard his name being popped up a lot.
Ronald Jones is there too, and he's a good pass catching back, which that scares me a little bit with Arians. Whereas in
Arizona,
Houston, he would just, especially if they don't bring Lamar Miller back or whatever, trade him, whatever they want, Mark Ingram would just eat all day.
Oh yeah, especially in that offense with Watson and Hopkins. Like I said, whoever is daunted as the new running back there in Houston, not named Lamar Miller, will actually probably be pretty good, whether that's Foreman or somebody from the outside.
Miller didn't have he turned it on at the end of the year.
Yeah,
end of the year, but he's
average. I'm not trying to be mean and not trying to sound like he's a bad player. I just think he's
been
just
like that his whole career.
He's an average back. He was an average back at Miami. He had that good year, but right before he got signed to that big contract to Houston.
Year. Yeah.
Most running backs do really well their contract year.
Yep.
So we'll see. Let's see. Now Julio Jones coming in at 6. He probably would have been higher if he had some touchdowns in the first 10 games.
8 games. Yeah, the first half of the season he had no touchdowns.
15 games.
There was defensive linemen that had more touchdowns than him.
True. I mean, he had all the yards, all the receptions. It just was no touchdowns, and that was what was holding back. And I think that's where you see him at that number 6 spot is because he had no touchdowns through what you said, at least half the season.
Yeah.
And then he started pouring it on with touchdown or even 2 touchdown games, and I think that helped his average back up. But he had 245, so 2 points behind
there was a point
Michael Thomas.
There was a point in the season where he was the number 21 wide receiver.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. He was in that 20 range because he wasn't scoring touchdowns. He was getting plenty of receptions and yards.
I was trying to trade for him, but it wasn't happening.
No.
Yeah, you want to get him when he comes off the floor game of 2.8.
Yeah, because I was like, he's not scoring touchdowns. I was trying to sell everything I could to get him because I knew it was only a matter of time
before he turned the corner.
Yeah, they go to Julio. So.
But Julio was our actual number 6 consensus, and he was the number 6 fantasy player or fantasy wide receiver for the year and a half points. So pretty spot on. I mean, literally spot on. I think, let's see, I had him as high as 4. Blackburn had him right around that 10 spot, and Trimboli had him at 5. So we knew he was going to be in that top 10, that 5 to 10 spot. We just didn't know because of Sarkisian. You banked on the Sarkisian we saw the year before, and we tried to give him a little bit of credit, and that's how we got the number 6 overall.
Well, I think things changed for Julio when Freeman went on IR.
Oh yeah, right. Most definitely. And Coleman was horrible.
Once Freeman went on IR, they did less Coleman run, and it was more throwing. Ito Smith got in the mix, and Austin Hooper came alive out of nowhere.
And he didn't. I don't think any of us expected Matt Ryan to be a top 5 guy, fantasy quarterback. And when you got that also elevates.
Yeah. Well,
Julio.
Sarkisian's game plan with the 2 running backs kind of went out the window, so they opened it up the throwing more.
Yeah. All right, number 7, Adam Thielen. We had him as our. We didn't even. Did we have him?
Yeah, 13.
Okay, so we had him at 13. So
don't worry, this guy kept him in our top 15.
You had him at number 9. I had him at 10, and Blackburn had him at 19. You just thought with Kirk Cousins coming in, that he likes to spread the ball around.
Yeah,
and we did. I mean, it was 1 week. It was for the first quarter of the season. It was Thielen. And then Diggs had a couple good games, and then Diggs got hurt, then Thielen got hurt, and then once they both were back, it was just kind of like it was Diggs' show. I felt like almost that second half of the season. Once Thielen got hurt, it just kind of
Thielen carried Thielen was like top 5. He was top 3 in some leagues for a good 12 weeks or 10 weeks. And then after that, it was the Diggs show.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think that going forward, with the offense coordinator come back, I think you're going to see a balanced offense with pass and run, and get these key players going early. So number 8, Juju Smith-Schuster coming in. So 2 wide receivers from the Pittsburgh Steelers in that top 10. He averaged 227 fantasy points, and he was averaging 15 points a game. So pretty good for a guy you were probably getting in that middle to back into the second round, and you probably had a wide receiver in your first round, or running back.
I remember us having that conversation if we thought, Roethlisberger could carry 2 wide receivers in the top 15, and he showed it again that he can with Brown and Juju.
So Juju did very well, and I think that with no Antonio Brown potentially next year, Juju becomes the one. He's a top 5 wide receiver potentially.
And then you got to look at who his 2 is.
If the quarterback is Big Ben.
True,
that is it. So if everything else stays the same besides Brown's out,
right?
I want to know who the number 2 is going to emerge to be, because that guy is going to be a hot commodity and
could be a mid to late round steal.
He'll be your sleeper.
Yeah. So that's pretty good though. I think we had Juju right outside the top 13. I think he was at 14 or 16. I'm not sure. I don't see him on here.
No, we didn't have him in the top 13.
We thought that Brown was going to be the main.
Well, I think up until last year, Big Ben's never carried 2 guys in the top 15. So I think that's why we had Juju outside the 15.
We didn't know the Bell situation was going to be either.
Absolutely.
Officially.
That is true.
So
because he would have took a lot more targets too, I think.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise, number 9, Robert Woods from the L.A. Rams. Dude just blew it up. I mean, he was consistent, and then once Cooper Kupp got hurt, he pretty much became the guy.
That's the key, because this name should say Cooper Kupp.
This should be, yeah.
Because Cooper Kupp was blowing it up.
Yes.
And when he got hurt, Robert Woods was the main beneficiary of that.
Brandon Cooks didn't change his overall stature where he was at in the offense.
Reynolds came in every now and then, but it was Robert Woods.
So, okay, I saw this on Twitter. I really like this post. Who do you like now going forward?
Kupp.
Robert Woods or Cooks?
Oh, Robert Woods or Cooks?
Yeah.
I like Robert Woods.
I do too.
I think he's a better overall receiver. He's not just a one-trick pony. He's not just a 1 or 2 route guy. I mean, he can run routes. And Cooper Kupp coming back, he's going to be your possession guy. Make Robert Woods kind of be the deeper threat who can still run routes deep, though, not just one route.
I guess I should have preferenced that with, let's say Cooper comes back healthy.
Yeah.
Now who do you want between Cooks and Woods?
Woods.
So Woods.
I would too.
All right.
Nothing against Cooks, but I'd rather have Woods is a better receiver.
Yeah.
No, and it goes back to what we thought. That's how we went over this. Is why Cooks is not in our top 13 here, because we thought the same thing. He's almost like a one-trick
In
pony.
New Orleans, he was the deep guy. New England, deep guy. They used him as the deep guy here with a couple reverses or whatever every now and then.
Yeah, he really was kind of the same guy.
Speed.
And like I talked about in the offseason early on, I said, if you watch his film, and even in New Orleans and in New England, if he doesn't beat the guy off the line, he kind of pulls back on the route. Like, he doesn't really fully run through the route. He doesn't run with the full on speed that he technically has. But if he gets a good step or two ahead of the guy, like if he gets a step off the line, then he's going to run that route to a perfection. Now, if he doesn't get the initial step on the guy, if you watch, he kind of quits the route almost, because he knows he's not going to get the over the top flashy play that he's accustomed to. So, number 10, Mike Evans coming in at 215, 14 fantasy points a game. So we're going from 272 to 215 here from number 1 to number 10. So that's a pretty big, drastic number for wide receivers. However, when you get outside the top, we'll just say top 4 wide receivers or top 5, the number starts to shrink gap-wise, where running backs is still a pretty big gap, even from, 1 to 10. I forget exactly how many, but I think it was.
I got you.
Oh, you got it. The gap from running back to wide receiver or running back.
Yeah, I got both. So what you were looking for?
I was saying from number 1 to number 10, what was the running back point differential?
1 to 10? Or I'll give you 1 to 12.
Okay.
And the running back was 137.30. So if you got the top guy to 12, that's why we always say go after running back.
Okay, well, if you're looking at, it's about 80 some yards or
73.50 to go from 1 to 12
in wide receiver. Wow. See, that's the difference.
How about this? So if you go now, let's do your wide receiver 2s and running back 2s. So go from 1 to running back 24, almost 200 points.
Okay.
Now go from 1 to 24 on the wide receiver. It is 129.
The Packers just terminated Joe Witt Jr., their passing game coordinator.
More change it coming.
Oh, I had it.
Gone! It's all gone. Oh, it's gone. Bye-bye. Woo, see ya.
Oh man, sorry man, but Aaron Rodgers is what was his title? It said
passing game coordinator.
Breaking news: Aaron Rodgers, also the quarterback, is officially named the passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Not just the GOAT.
Dude, they have the C stitched on. He's gonna have all this stuff.
He's just got all of his little Letterman stuff. It'd be like a high school Letterman jacket. He's got all these accolades.
It's gonna be like the Army. When they get those
the different credentials.
Yeah.
Man.
Patches O'Houlihan.
Oh, man. All right, so number 10.
We're back to that show. I love it. Or movie.
Mike Evans, number 10, 215. We had Mike Evans as our number 11, so pretty consistent. Figured that Jameis was going to be Jameis. We didn't know about the Ryan Fitzpatrick magic coming in.
If Fitzmagic would have been on the...
We might have actually gave him a little bit more points. We might have raised him a little bit on the stature.
But still, even finishing in the top 10 for all the quarterback changes they had, that's not bad.
The inconsistency Godwin and Humphreys kind of came on about halfway through the season.
And Deshaun Jackson actually was relevant
when Fitzmagic was in there.
Right.
O.J. Howard had a good year until he got hurt.
True.
And that's the thing. I think Evans just stayed healthy this year.
Yeah, he did.
He did what he was supposed to. You could tell at times he was getting frustrated at times that the ball wasn't getting thrown his way as much.
Yeah, but that's every wide receiver, so.
Divas.
True. So, number 11, Keenan Allen. We had him as our consensus 5. He finished at 11 with 201 fantasy points, and I think that was a lot of one. He got hurt at one point and he missed a whole game, which that's potentially about 20 more points that would have put him, we'll say, up there above, close to above Evans and above Robert Woods. It put him in that 9 spot. He was averaging somewhere around 9 or about 20 points prior to missing that game, honestly. And then the offense kind of went in waves. It kind of went up and down, and the run game was the main focal point. Then Phillip Rivers was looking at Tyrell Williams. Then he was looking for Mike Williams.
Had a few good games.
Yeah.
I just think that I think this is what you got. Keenan Allen just didn't. He was kind of in that Julio range where he just wasn't scoring a ton of touchdowns like he had in the past.
Well, if you get the Keenan Allen in the second half of the season into your playoffs,
yes,
that would have been your top. He would have been your top 5 wide receiver.
Most definitely. So, number 12, Stephon Diggs. So you got Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs back again in that wide receiver 1 spot again. Even with a better quarterback, they actually still both. I know it sounds weird, but with the lesser performance, in my opinion, of what they could have done, they still finished in the top 12, both of them. So he finished at 198 with about a 14-point average a game. So we had Stephon Diggs actually as our consensus 12, shockingly enough. I had him at 9, Blackburn had him at 14, and Trimboli had him at 12. So it is what it is. I mean,
I wasn't giving Thielen and Diggs love.
No, you were not giving the Minnesota wide receivers, but you were also coming off the concept of what you saw in Washington with average wide receivers.
Yeah, no Redskin finished above 30 wide receiver. They were all bunched together in the 30s.
True. So, and then to wrap out.
Well, that and Cook, we didn't think Cook was going to be out as long as he was. And or not as healthy as he was all year.
And we didn't think that the offense was going to go the way that he pretty much
he screwed him.
Well,
and we also that offense.
We also took Kyle Rudolph into account. We thought he's going to have X amount of receptions.
Don't worry.
He didn't have
that'll be next week's episode with the tight ends.
Yeah, so. I'll eat my words on that one.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. So number 13 though, T.Y. Hilton coming in there with the 193, 14, almost 15 fantasy points a game. T.Y. Hilton showed back up. I
had him at 9. I didn't account for Eric Ebron gobbling up every touchdown available.
I don't think anyone could.
No. No one thought Ebron was going to be this guy. We thought we were going to see the mediocre tight end that maybe gets a few red zone looks, but he was going to be battling with Doyle.
From what we've seen in Detroit, we didn't expect that. But he came out, and he was averaging like 3 touchdowns a game for like 5 weeks.
It was great. It'd be 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns.
Right. For 12 yards. You're just like, good night.
And here's your 30 points.
Right. So,
he was on the field for 5 plays.
But yeah, so we had T.Y. Hilton at 9, and we were I banked myself and Trimboli banked at. I had him at 12. Trimboli had him at 13. Banked on Luck not being 100% and maybe missing a couple games. However, you banked on Luck starting from the beginning and being there, and that's why you had him at 9. But to me, I think the reason why, and I think we just mentioned it, reason why Hilton wasn't higher is because there's a guy named Eric Ebron in that offense.
Yeah. Well,
honestly,
plus the passing game of the running backs. Naeem Hines caught a lot of balls. Yeah. Matt caught a lot of balls.
They were doing well.
So Luck was actually spreading
Matt's
around.
Back in that offense, actually Hilton's numbers will go up. When Hines was the guy, and I'm drawing blank on, they had some
Wilkins.
Thank you. It kind of, they were peppering the running back a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that took away from Hilton.
I'm just saying going forward, T.Y. Hilton. We put out a tweet, or we put out the Average Joe Nation Fantasy Awards, and T.Y. Hilton's name is rising in the comeback of the year. Surprisingly enough, I think him and Luck and somebody else's name, I forget who the other guy was that popped in there, but those two guys are back and forth.
Probably Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson's name was thrown in there, and there was somebody, I forget exactly who the guy was that came back this year that he did really well that wasn't doing well last year.
Ebron?
Well, I actually have not seen Eric Ebron's name, but I'm just saying, so Hilton and Luck's name are both been thrown to that fantasy comeback player of the year because, to me, Luck, obviously, because he had no relevancy and probably a lot of people drafted him thinking he was going to play last year, and T.Y. Hilton, unfortunately, was the beneficiary of Andrew Luck not playing. So,
man, I can't think of who that name is. It's going to drive me insane.
Who the other guy? There's a third person player that's like they're kind of even between.
For the Colts or just
no, in general. Luck is the clear winner right now, but Hilton is right behind him at 2, and I forget who third place is right now at the moment. But
it's not Tyler Boyd.
No, surprisingly enough, we only had like 3 Tyler Boyd votes so far.
They were all me.
Yeah. Surprise.
Hey, he was
I know
wide receiver 106 or something,
I know.
and then he finished in the top 25. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, that's like Adrian Peterson. I mean, I know Redskins sucked this year, but Adrian
No.
Peterson was garbage last year, and then
AP was a good one. I overlooked him. That's a good.
he goes to Washington, who had a terrible offensive line at season's end with their 5th and 6th string guys in there, and he was still putting up 100-yard games.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, let's go into, before we wrap up the show, I did bring the games for Saturday and Sunday, and they're over and unders and who the favorites are, so that way we can go through.
Bam.
Would we like to go? What was our? We picked them last week, correct?
Yeah, we did.
Not so hot. Well, at
Well,
least
we're
2/3 of us didn't do so hot. How about that?
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
Listen, you picked.
And it's all
Cade.
Cody Parkey's fault.
Yes.
Don't worry, everyone else in Chicago's on board with your frustration for
Listen,
Cody Parkey.
it's a new week.
It is a new week.
It's new picks.
All right, so Saturday, the early game, Colts at Chiefs. Kansas City is currently the favorites, and the over/under is 56.5 points.
Real quick, I've been following stuff on this game all week.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be colder, windy.
yes. So do you guys know what the record is for a quarterback playing in his first playoff game against I'm going to call him a veteran quarterback here in Luck, who's just a quarterback that's had more than one game experience in the playoffs.
I'm gonna say he's 0-7.
Since 2002. Sorry.
Oh, so what's that? 12.
There's 43 starts in there.
Okay, so out of the 43 starts, I would say about half of them are losses.
13-30
Ouch.
is the record.
Here-
11-30-1 against the spread.
Oh,
When they're the home team, they're 6-13, they're 6-13, and against the spread they're only 3-16. So we got Mahomes now going up against Luck,
yeah.
and the numbers do not favor him. You know who also didn't favor Watson last week? It didn't favor Lamar Jackson or Trubisky.
No, they all pretty
So
much rolled out on that one.
where I just thought this
Prescott
would be a Chiefs might roll this, but this might be a little closer than it looks now.
I got a stat for you on this game, too.
Yes, I love it.
The Kansas City Chiefs have not won in the divisional round since 1994.
Good old Joe Montana.
Correct. That was the
Oh my
quarterback.
gosh, that was a good year. Good
And
year.
2 of those times they lost against the Colts.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
So after all that, who we taking?
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Me too.
I mean,
But I've got
look,
here.
I understand the past and things have happened for Kansas City, but this offense is something like that we've never seen
Right.
before.
I still here's what I think. I think that offensively, the Chiefs are going to move the ball. What it comes down, the X factor to me, and I know some people are like, oh, it's Andy Reid's the X factor. I'm telling you, for the players that are on the field, what the X factor is basically comes down to if the Colts above average sneaky defense can slow down that offense for Kansas City. That's the key to the game, because the Luck offense with the Colts, they're going to put points on the board against that trash of a defense in Kansas City. I'm just saying it's going to come down to, I think it's going to come down to basically if the Colts defense can take a couple, whether it's a turnover or a couple 3-and-outs, and then go score and kind of get ahead. Because when you put the Chiefs back against the wall and you put them, even at home, if you put them their backs against the wall and they have to come back, they're not as successful when they're playing from behind. I know as cliche as that sounds, but I'm just saying I do have the Chiefs favored by 10. I think they win by 10.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little closer than 10. I think it's going to be closer to the line, but I don't know. I just think Mahomes had his back up against the wall. He's been tested all year, and I think he's come through. So when I was giving you all those stats about first-time quarterbacks, I kind of think Mahomes is going to bypass that.
Well, 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. I get that the Colts have a sneaky defense, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be whoever has the last offense on the field.
Yeah. All right. So all of us has got the Chiefs.
Got to roll with the Chiefs.
All right. The later Saturday game in the Coliseum, Cowboys at Rams. The over/under is 49. Rams are currently the favorite, but not by much. And I would like to point out, this is not me as a Cowboys fan. I'm just telling you, I did a little research. Apparently, outside of the Oakland Raiders, the Cowboys fan base is number 2 there in the L.A. area, ahead of the Rams and ahead of the Chargers, surprisingly enough. So there will probably be a pretty good amount of Dallas Cowboy fans in the stadium, which I think bodes well for Dallas overall. But being on the road, initially when they called for rain, I thought this might be an equalizer to help out Dallas overall. They're now saying the rain's going to clear out by the morning, and it'll be a little bit warmer, be about 60 degrees by kickoff. A little windy, but nothing too crazy. ultimately, I think this is another X factor. I think the X factor is the Dallas Cowboys defense. I hate the 2 point. Now, I think Dallas Cowboys defense, if they can slow down Todd Gurley, which I know that's a tall task to handle, but if they can slow him down enough, I think that helps them offensively. And if Dak basically manages the game and doesn't try to go out and win a game, also helps. But ultimately, both these teams run the ball well. Both these teams have really a top 3 running back in their backfield. Both of them have, I would say, quarterbacks that are basically taught to manage the game and not to win the game. The problem is you got 2 different head coaches. I think Sean McVay is a better head coach, but there's a lot of question marks around him right now because he's not won a playoff game yet. There's a big question mark on that. And it's in the Coliseum this year. A little bit more pressure on the Rams. Cowboys are kind of playing as the underdog, which they have for most of the year. I ultimately think Dallas wins, but I think it's by a field goal.
So you got Cowboys.
I don't think it's by much. I think it's a late field goal by, like, whatever his name is.
I'm going with the Rams, not because I'm a Redskins fan. However, Jared Goff this season has averaged 10 points or below on the road. At home, he's throwing up 30 burgers.
Yeah.
They're at home.
Yeah.
I think the X factor in this is going to be the Rams' ability to stop Zeke. If they can shut down Zeke with Donald and Ndamukong Suh and all that and make Dak win the game, that's going to favor the Rams.
You took my point. You just said what I was going to say, too. The Rams, that's what their strong point on defense is. They can take away the run. I think if you force Dak to win the game, I don't think that's highly likely. So,
right.
I have the Rams.
And I like their offense gels better at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it to the Rams.
Okay. Sunday, early game, Chargers at Patriots. It's in New England, in good old Brady and Belichick's backyard, and it is supposed to be a cold one and maybe snow.
Yeah, it was already snowing the other day at practice up there.
But if you ask Belichick, we're not playing the weather. We're playing the Chargers.
Was this the game they
I
said?
kid you not. That's what he said at his press conference.
Is this the game they said potentially could be moved to Monday?
Depends on the snow, how much weather they get. It could be potentially moved to Monday. But at this point, they're saying it should be good enough to go. Over under 48. Patriots are currently the favorites. I think the Chargers win, and I think it's by 7.
Wow, I didn't think you'd go with the Chargers because history tells you the Patriots are going to win. The Tom Brady, it's Belichick and all that. But I agree. I think the Chargers have the better team.
They don't care to play on the road.
Well,
they've got 9 wins on the road.
They play better on the road.
That's what I'm saying. They're one of those weird teams that play better on the road. They don't care.
Well, ironically, do they have a home?
Well, they have a 30,000
35,000
soccer field.
I like the Chargers' defense against the Patriots. The Patriots, believe it or not, I know their history at home, blah, 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 blah. They're not putting up a lot of points this year.
And this defense is a good defense.
And Brady's getting hit a lot.
Yeah.
So Bosa and company is going to be running after Brady. I like the Chargers in this one.
Yeah.
So no Robo Gronk, huh?
No, I think this is the end of the dynasty right here.
Yeah. I think if the Chargers do win this, I think New England's going to get blown up.
Yeah.
Gronk will be gone.
Yeah.
Belichick, Brady, that's all done.
All right. And then final, Eagles at Saints. It's in New Orleans, obviously, in the Dome, so no weather factors. Over-unders 51.5. Saints are currently favorites.
I'm going Saints big.
I agree with you.
Big. Eagles should not even be there right now.
I'm going to be the lone wolf on this one and go with the Eagles, and I think it's by a touchdown. I think they may get absolutely obliterated, but I'm also saying I can't roll against Nick Foles. The dude is like gold in the playoffs.
He is.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
He's not going to be able to keep up scoring with the Saints.
I understand.
Saints defense is decent. The Eagles should have lost to the Bears, and that Bears offense was trash.
But the Bears defense was good. That's the difference. The Bear offense.
Yeah, but but the Eagles, they barely could score points themselves against that.
I understand. I'm just telling you, it's in a dome. It's nice weather. Foles loves to throw that ball, and he's got no weather issue, so he could chuck that ball. And we all know he's going to live and die by throwing that deep ball to Aguilar all day, every day.
2 picks against the Bears. I think it's going to be too much. They're not going to be able to keep up point wise with the Saints.
I like Saints big, but I mean Pickles also got a point with
Foles
is gold in the playoffs. So
yeah,
I mean I was glad to see
in New Orleans it's going to be Foles gold.
Yes,
okay?
There you go.
There
you go. I like it. So, all right. That's all we got for today's show. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's on the podcast, YouTube, or on DATV. You can head over to our site even in the off season. We've got a couple articles that are getting ready to be pumped out here at the end of January. So make sure you tune in to that. The website's thehateful8ff.com. We got all of our different advertisers that you can go on and click and purchase. They've got different discounts as well. And then you can follow us on Twitter all this offseason at the Hateful 8 FF Podcast. And then you can also follow all of our personal accounts on Twitter. It's at JPickle, TH8FF, at JBlackburn, TH8FF, and at FTrim, TH8FF. Like I said, we're here all off season, so you can tweet at us, whatever questions, concerns, whatever you got. That's what we're here for. I mean,
send me a picture of the punishment.
You're right. We might actually do like a championship, like a picture of your champion and a picture of like a loser, and we'll kind of maybe have a little fun with it in this off season. So. Anyway, so that's all we got for today. Thank you for guys tuning in, and we will see you guys next week for the tight end year in review positional. So we'll see you guys, and if your team's still in the playoffs, I hope they win. If not, unless they're Rams fans, I don't want you to win. Goodbye.
Go Rams.
Ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful 8. He's a chump finishing last.